Just streaming, so. Streaming!
It's gonna be at the PlayStation Theater. So you're gonna
Oh, yeah.
you're gonna stand there, and fangirls are gonna go ee,
And I will just stand there
and
and,
then-
go,
and then we'll go home.
I'm old enough now to where I can be the guy who just kind of stands there, nodding his head a little bit, and that's all I do.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that is the correct way for me to watch concerts. All right, I think this is live. Get the Morants going. And the preview's live. Whoop! I'll just minimize that. Not going to record it because I don't need to. Pause that because that's fine. And let's do this. It's Tuesday, July 18th, 2017. I'm Rim.
I'm Scott.
And this is Geek Nights. Tonight, reviewing board games the way that we do it, dog. Yeah, so we wanted to actually review a board game we've been playing recently, but we haven't played it enough. And this show instead will be about why that makes it hard to review a lot of board games like we used to in the, I don't know, like 5 years ago on Geek Nights.
It's all you.
Yeah.
It's your idea. You're carrying it.
Hey, it was my crab people, and I admitted it was a crab people, but that's what I got for tonight.
I got nothing.
But we'll probably be able to play that game enough to the next Tuesday show, be able to talk about it. Or maybe I'll just blow through Night in the Woods, and then we can do a full show on
You
that.
could do that. You can also play. I'm gonna start playing Sheffy on the Switch.
Oh, yeah.
Play that. We could do a show.
I'll play that. I'll play the hell out of that. Because I can't get past much in TumbleSeed, so...
They just made TumbleSeed easier.
Yeah, maybe I should get that update. I actually went back into Breath of the Wild and went and did I'm gonna
do that also.
I went and got a whole bunch of shrines that were like the weird, hard to find ones.
I'm gonna be doing that soon because the DLC updated and I paid for that.
Yeah,
Get my money's worth.
You know, I didn't get the DLC, and the more I look at what it is, I don't think I care.
But I also get other DLCs that are coming later. I'd say it was a pack. This isn't all I'm getting. I'm getting like a whole other dungeon later.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm gonna wait and see if the dungeon is great because Breath of the Wild.
You're gonna pay more for that dungeon.
Breath of the Wild was already like this pretty like perfect gaming experience, and because I've sort of played it through so hard that the incremental returns on playing it more are actually pretty minimal, even if there's more content.
I'm just tempted because I was tempted because all the Zelda games, right? You play them, you beat them, and then they're so done.
Yep.
Right? It's like, well.
But no, Breath of the Wild, to your point, yeah, because like I booted up the other day because I was like waiting for something to finish, like I was doing a render, and I was just like, I wonder what's over there. I don't have any, like there's not a lot of waypoints or things in that area of the map. I wonder if there's something there, and I just went to this part of the map.
But it's like, you know, even a game that's so enormous, I'm still have covered a great amount of it.
Yeah.
Right?
No, that northern, like around Hebra, so like that's the last area I explored. I explored the fuck out of that area.
So my favorite area.
Yeah,
so
it's a good area.
The temptation of a Zelda that keeps going is like the temptation of the Netrunner, where they keep adding more cards.
Well, it's also because you're so powerful by the end of Breath of the Wild if you did all this stuff that you're walking around like this god man with weapons of the ancients, just like Silver Lionel, whatever. He won't even touch me. Let's go, bro. I didn't even upgrade most of my stuff all the way. Like it didn't matter.
I think I got the ancient armor, but I got to do a lot of upgrading it by getting Lionel parts.
I decided that wasn't worth it. I pretty much only ever wore the Zora, like the full Zora.
The thing is, I just really want to be able to walk up to ancients and have them shoot lasers and like nothing even happens to me. Like, oh, you hit me with a laser, big whoop, wah, you're dead. That's what I just want to do that so bad.
Yep. So yeah, if you didn't notice, it's kind of actually important news because it is the most chill PAX, and it is a real PAX, but PAX South in San Antonio is January 12th through 14th, which unfortunately
is 1 week after MagFest. So you go to New Year's party, and then the next weekend you go to MagFest, and the next weekend you go to PAX South, and you pay someone to do your laundry in between because you don't have time for that.
Yep, I'm gonna be gone for a while in January between all this.
And the weekend before that is Xmas, right? So it's like you have 4 consecutive weekends from the end of December to the middle of January of boom, 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 boom. And if you don't do that, you ain't living.
Yep. So PAX South, remember.
Why live? Why be a nerd alive on this world if that is not what you do?
If PAX Prime is too hard to get into and too far away and too expensive, and PAX East, there's no hotels because the hotels are probably sold out for the next 20 years already, and you can't just fly to Sydney every year like I do, PAX South is like super great. And I know we say this a lot, but a lot of you don't seem to really understand how great it is.
It's cheaper to go to PAX South in San Antonio, even if you have to drive and use a hotel at PAX East, because you're within driving distance of it, but you have to pay for parking and hotel. It would be cheaper to fly to San Antonio because the hotel there is so cheap and the PAX ticket is so much cheaper.
And PAX badges went on sale because my alert went off because I forgot to turn it off after West.
Yeah, I didn't get the alert because I turned it off, and also
so I got the alert.
I was in the bathroom when it happened.
And my blood got up because, my brain still says, oh shit, PAX. So I went straight for the hotel and I got the good hotel. I won't say the name of the good hotel because I don't want it to ever become the hotel that sells out.
It's not the cheapest hotel, so it won't sell
True.
out.
Yeah, none of the. I think the Con Hotel, like the closest one, is sold out, but nothing else is.
Nope.
And 3-day badges are still available.
Yep.
3-day. You can buy a single badge that covers 3 days at PAX South. That might seem crazy if you've been to other PAXs, but that is how it is. And it is a full PAX, and it focuses heavily tabletop.
Right. And even the people who go to PAX for your swag and your industry shit, right? It's like, yeah, it's not nearly as big as East or West. Not even close in that regard, if that's what you're going to PAX for. However, at the last PAX South, that was the first place that they had, like, Nintendo Switches and Zeldas, and it's like, it's still there.
And it's crowded.
It's not like they have none of it. They just don't. It's just not crazy like it is.
You could just walk up to one of these booths, wait like 5 minutes, and see what's going on.
And even the eSports, like at PAX South last time, there was a Hearthstone tournament right there. So I'm like, oh, I'm not doing anything right now. I walk over and sit down, and like every single famous Hearthstone person was just there. And I'm sure the same was true over in the games for the eSports of other, things. Like, even though it's PAX South, it's still a PAX. It still brings out big guns. It's just not a big hoo-ha because it's in San Antonio.
Yep, and most PAXs, other than West, are mostly locals who attend. So PAX South is mostly people who live literally like within driving distance in Texas.
Yeah, that most of the people there are from Texas, Oklahoma, and nearby places. There were not as many people from far away. But look, it's cheap if it's from far away. You can go.
Yep.
Low prices.
So we will
as far
be
as
there.
Conventions go. I mean, if you can't afford PAX South, you can't afford a convention that's outside your town.
Yeah, but at that point you got to look for those local cons like the Zenkai Con, the Kineticon, the one that's next door.
The one that you can like drive to and from with your car to back to your house every day and pay for no hotel. That is the cheapest con.
Actually, I think that's part of why the hotels don't sell out at PAX South is a lot of people just come for the day.
Sure.
Or they drive in because they live near San Antonio and they just drive in every day.
Sure.
Because I notice a lot of people drive out. Like the hotels are pretty dead at night at PAX South.
The parking lot has activity and is full.
So there's another PAX that finally we can announce about it at least. We're doing at least one panel at PAX West. I believe it is our 42nd PAX panel.
Whoa.
That really, but I think at this point, PAX has eclipsed literally every other con we've ever performed at. Even Otakon, where we used to do like 5+ a year.
So unlike PAX South, which doesn't sell out, PAX West, I think, is sold out.
Yeah.
Can you buy a Monday badge?
I don't think so.
Anyway.
Let's see. I'll check.
You might be able to buy a Monday, but the point is, I am going to soon be in possession once they mail it.
Monday is low.
Okay.
There are a few Monday badges left.
I have 4 full sets, but Emily is buying 1 set.
Yep.
And some internet person is probably buying another full set. But I still, now that our panel is confirmed,
yes,
I do not need these 2 other full sets of PAX West badges. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. If you want to go to PAX West and the only thing keeping you from going is that you could not get badges in the crazy run up to buying them, you can buy them from me for face value because I don't need them and I do need my money back that I only spent as insurance.
We buy badges as insurance because
if our panel is rejected, we need to go to PAX or we will die.
If I couldn't get one then, well, so there's another secret. I bring this up occasionally. If you care a lot about game design or in the game industry, or especially if you're a student at a university, if you buy a badge to PAX Dev, which is expensive, but there's a huge discount if you're a current college student.
Mm-hmm. You have to be studying games, or can you be studying like medicine?
I think you can be studying anything.
Can you be studying medicine?
I think they check you out. Like they might email you and be like, "Hey," but I'm pretty sure if you're just going to a university, they'll let you in.
All right.
But you have the right, even though PAX West is sold out, to just buy one set of full badges for PAX.
To go with your PAX Dev badge.
To go with your PAX Dev, because no one flies to Seattle just for PAX Dev.
That's not cheap, though, because if you don't live nearby, you're also going to have to pay for extra hotel nights to use your PAX Dev badge.
Yep.
And such and such. So that's not a cheap option, but it is a way that you can spend money to avoid hassle.
And PAX
if you
Dev
are wealthy.
is real good, and it's been getting better year by year. I really enjoy it, but
I would go if I had a ton more vacation days. I'd keep going.
The only caveat is, do not go if you expect to play games, because it is a serious convention where literally, like, it's all workshops and, like, serious panels and business stuff. It's
if I actually finished making a game and published a game, then I would go to PAX Dev.
Yep. I go partly because I've actually learned
if I was really close to doing so.
And actually, I've learned a lot, too, about things we need to do for the convention we're starting that pre-shit talks. We're not going to talk about it a lot yet, but stay tuned. The GeekNights convention is coming. We're working on it.
Yeah, buy my badges. Send me monies.
Just let us know. If you're a friend of ours, it's basically first come, first serve. And by friend, if you hear our voices saying this right now, that's good enough.
That's pretty close.
Not that many people listen to GeekNights.
No.
But we will be at PAX West doing a panel on Sunday at 6:30 p.m.
And keep in mind, that's not the last day. Monday's the last day.
Yeah. In a theater we've never performed in before, the Hippogriff Theater, which is over in the Hyatt.
In the Hyatt, because it begins with an H.
I think it's the one we saw the Tetris guy in that one year.
Or the one next to it.
Yep, those are both pretty big, too.
Yeah, they're the horizontal kind.
So the panel is called The Rage of the Quitter. Now, you might say, but Remy Scott,
it's a redo of the quitting panel we did before.
You might say that, but actually kind of rewriting that panel because we ran that panel a bunch of times and we both figured out a lot of stuff. And I think we have a very different panel to give. And we're still going to talk about 10-cent beer night because that is one of the most wonderful things that's ever happened in baseball. But this panel is going to happen and we're going to be at PAX. It's going to be awesome. So you might have seen, we talked about TumbleSeed, and the game is hard.
We did a whole episode on TumbleSeed.
Game's real hard.
Well, it's not. See, the thing is, TumbleSeed, I think, actually has the right level of difficulty. I've said this before, but I can say it again. It has the right level of difficulty for a roguelike type game. The problem of TumbleSeed is that the difficulty curve is too steep. Right away, the beginning of level 1 is
there's holes. There's monsters that chase you.
Yeah, it's like there's holes and bad guys right a fucking way. It's like no. You can bring that on. The game could actually probably get to a difficulty level towards the end that is harder than its current difficulty level towards the end, and it would be fine. You have to start even in the easy mode now. The game starts and the board looks like Swiss cheese. It's like you should start with one hole, then one bad guy, then maybe 2 holes, right?
I'd be fine.
Mario starts with a flat space, no holes to fall in, and one fucking Goomba, right? You start at the absolute rock bottom where a baby would be the only one who could mess this up, and then you curve up nicely. And then if you curve nicely, you can get to the fucking Mount Everest heights, right? As long as your curve is nice. You know, you could have a game that curves up nicely and goes into fucking outer space where the difficulty is ludicrous, like Doom Nightmare Mode difficulty, right? And that would be fine. You cannot have a game that starts at like Hurt Me Plenty. Even if it only goes up to ultra-violence, you started at Hurt Me Plenty, people are going to be like, oh, fuck this, because they didn't build the skills to deal with even that medium Hurt Me Plenty level.
Having played it a bunch more since we did that show, I almost think, too, that really, even if it started with the Swiss cheese, if there weren't enemies for like 10 minutes...
10 minutes is too long. Just a screen or two.
Even 10 minutes, like the Swiss cheese alone gives me trouble. But I really enjoy
you just really suck then.
I am actually like, ice cold beer is a real hard game, but I am way worse at it than you might expect.
Okay, you must be really bad because I got emoted. So anyway, my friend Chris was way into Netrunner. Chris, he's way into TumbleSeed. He was streaming it.
Whoa.
He went away and came back, and now it's been updated, so he streamed again. So what they done is instead of just the adventure mode, which is still there, there's now 4 other mountains, one for each of the 4 parts of the big mountain. So you can just play forest. And then you can play jungle, and then you can play, right? And you can sort of build, it gives you this opportunity to build up your skills and do these little quests.
Well, you know what?
And it also gives you these auras. Remember in the old one, the auras were just like partially hurting you?
Yep.
Now you can choose, when you basically by playing the small mountains, you unlock these auras. So you can start with one of these auras that's positive only. And so the first aura is like, oh, don't lose your spikes when you fall, or don't lose your spikes when you get hit, or don't lose hearts when you fall in a hole.
So what I realized, you know what all that is? Because I was thinking about the game as I played it more. The model for how to map the difficulty of a game like this is actually Crypt of the Necrodancer. Crypt of the Necrodancer is like a case study in introducing increasingly difficult and complex things in a way that will give the person playing all the tools they need to get better.
I'm pretty sure the games that equal that are Mario, Super Metroid, and Mega Man.
I'd say, though, because of the way this game works with the stages and the levels and the roguelike aspect, Necrodancer is a closer fit because Mega Man and Mario and all those games have one thing that's very different. The games are not random.
Yeah, even NetHack did a better job at curving up than the first TumbleSeed.
Yep.
You can get through like 1 or 2 rooms of NetHack just by going up, down, left, right.
As we said in the review, I appreciate the fact that the game is just fuck you in your face, because that's kind of what Ice Cold Beer is, and this was made by people who were ridiculous fans of that game.
Yes, but if I spend that money to buy this game and I can only play it for a minute before I want to return it, that's a problem.
It's not for me.
Sure.
But, yeah, this article talks about how the game will likely never recoup its costs.
Nope.
And it's sort of post-mortem. It's a fascinating read. I'm not going to paraphrase the whole thing. You should just read it. But a sort of tangential point that I think you should bear in mind is that most games do not recoup their costs.
Nope.
Don't think that the fact that this game is hard is the only reason it didn't recoup its costs.
I think also the costs of making TumbleSeed were higher than you would think because A, they put it on a lot of platforms, even the Switch.
Yep.
Also, look how fucking polished it is as a piece of software, right?
Even though, according to
the visuals, the sound, they even get the rumble right. It's like they polished the fuck out of this game, and that cost them like months and months of development time.
Of course.
Which is why it's so great.
Based on specific interactions I've had in the industry about games that have succeeded or failed, where I learned things about like the actual back-end process, the games that tend to make the most money are the ones that spent way more time and money on the polishing aspects.
Like, there's nothing unpolished about TumbleSeed. It just has a difficulty curve.
Well, they polished a knife and then they pushed it into my abdomen is what they did.
That's right. It's fucking sharp as hell.
So, the Spiel des Jahres were announced.
Is someone going to yell at us for mispronouncing it again?
I'm so bad at German pronunciation.
I cannot pronounce it. But it's the game of the year. You've probably seen this logo on various board game boxes. It's a red pawn with a little yellow flag on it.
It means sword fighting very good.
And they award this award. We've said this so many times on the show, but whatever. Every year they give this award out to the best board game. There's one that's the Spiel des Jahres, the default one. There's one that's the Kinderspiel, that's like the one for the kids game, and then there's like another one for a strategy game, right? So the regular Spiel des Jahres, the sort of criteria for winning it is sort of like, not what you would expect, but it doesn't matter. The games that win it are usually terrific.
Yeah.
And the game that won it this year is Kingdomino, or is it
Kingdom, I know.
Kingdomino.
You know what? It's Kingdom Up.
Yes, it's a game that combines the theme of kingdoms with the play of dominoes. Kingdomino, whatever you want to call it.
It's dominoes and kingdoms, or
seeing it, I really want to play it, but I really don't want to keep it in my house or spend money on it.
Kingdoms, dominoes all together.
I love kingdoms and I like dominoes.
So, full disclosure.
Also, I got green. Look, there's a green piece. I can see it from here.
I played a lot of dominoes as a kid, like straight dominoes.
Dominoes itself is not great.
No, dominoes is not a good game.
No. But dominoes is a good game to play with some Hispanic guys on a folding table out in Queens.
But that's a lot like playing backgammon with a bunch of like old Turkish guys in Turkey.
Exactly.
You're not playing for the game. You're playing as an excuse to sit out in the evening under the sun, sipping some tea and bullshitting for 4 hours.
I'm playing as practice for my retirement years.
Yeah.
Because that's one day I'm going to be that old guy, and some punk kid is going to want to practice for his retirement years and is going to come play backgammon and dominoes with me.
Circle of life.
That's right.
I have no idea what the mechanics are.
I think you play tiles that are domino-like. A forest has to touch a forest, and then you put pawns on them. Like, I don't know.
There's definitely some card counting, I think, because I see a board that tells you how many of each type exists.
I'm sure it's a great game. We'll play it probably very soon.
Maybe I'll just try to get a copy of it, because I'm actually going to get rid of a bunch of board games.
Me too, if anyone wants a bunch of board games.
In fact, stay tuned. We're going to make a post in the forum sometime this week, because we're going we both want to get rid of a lot of games, and I want them to go to good homes. I don't even need to make money. I just want to give them to someone who will play them.
Yep.
Or give them to a library of a convention. Looking at you, cold guy. If you'll pay shipping,
I need to remove a lot of stuff from my house. Anyone who wants to help remove it. Like, if someone comes to my house and wants nerdy shit, like, I'm going to choose which shit is available to you, and you can take whatever of it you want.
Or should we do that Patreon thing that we were talking about?
Oh, we just send our shit to people?
If people make a tier... And if you're at that tier, every month we'll mail you something at least as valuable or nerdy as a board game. Until we run out of stuff, then we'll get rid of the tier.
The problem is, what if I have, like, I want to get, like, one of the things I'm trying to get rid of is all my Initial D manga
Pat
volumes.
already says, give me your games.
I have volumes of Initial D. I've got, like, 20 plus of them. What if I send one person volume 1 and one person volume 2?
That's even funnier.
And one person volume 3.
That's the right way to do it.
That's the right way to do it? I feel like I all got to go to the same person.
I own all of Dr. Slump.
But we want to keep that.
I just want to read it before I give it away.
That's what I'm doing in Full Metal Alchemist. I have not given that away.
I didn't even read all
I have every Full Metal Alchemist manga volume. I'm going to read them all and then sell them. Or get rid of them somehow.
I don't know. I feel my brain just... I lost interest in Full Metal Alchemist. Like, the part of my brain that was into it just said, well, we're done.
There's a live action now.
I don't even...
It came back... The other day, I saw tweets about Full Metal Alchemist. I'm like, what the fuck? And it's like, oh, there's live action. I'm like, what the fuck? But the manga is different from the other one, you know.
Yeah, but the two anime are different too. Remember, there's
I paid money for it.
There's 2 anime and that stupid movie. None of them seem to link up. They're all just like, it's the El Hazard situation.
That's why I'm just gonna read the whole manga. Because look, because the thing is, the manga.
I just don't even care.
The person who made the manga is real good. They also made Silver Spoon.
Oh yeah.
It's a good. The manga, I think, might be the best version of it.
Yeah, the thing is, I just finished Eccentric Family, and
yeah, I also finished Eccentric Family season 2. Yeah.
Oh, Jikoku.
Well, there wasn't as much Jigoku as you promised.
There's one big episode, and then there's a callback.
There is, but you promised more Jigoku than there was. But,
I guess that episode was just so much Jikoku, like crammed in.
Also, that's my kind of Jigoku.
Yeah, it is.
It was the best kind.
The industrialization of hell.
Oh yeah.
Had some good biz. So in some other news, we talked about this way back that Blizzard is trying to do for real esports, like like the New York team.
I wonder if it's because some Blizzard employees sat at a panel where we said that someone should do this.
Yeah, it might have been.
Could we take credit for this? I don't know. But we did do a panel where we said a lot of these ideas, and there were definitely Blizzard people in the audience at this panel.
And those are people who are smart.
That's
and
all I can. That's all I can say.
Well,
I don't know.
Like how
they haven't spoken to me since. So I actually have no idea.
It's kind of like how back at RIT all of us we had this long-running joke about Mosh Mosh Revolution, and then, like, a few days later, Mosh Mosh Revolution appeared in Mega Tokyo, and we're pretty sure that Ken Hashimoto, the Blur, took our joke.
You mean Ken, quote, the Blur, quote, Hashimoto?
Yeah, Ken the Blur Hashimoto.
Yes.
Pretty sure
Where is and what is Ken the Blur Hashimoto doing in 2017?
Someone told me recently, but I forgot it all. Like, some stuff happened with him, I guess. I don't know, maybe for all I know, he's listening to this.
That would be very, very sad.
The Blur, if you're listening to this, email us. I want to get you on the show. And
also,
like,
how do you feel about being called the Blur?
I feel like that was a badge of honor, at least at one point.
I didn't think of it as an insult. No. It was just a descriptive nickname.
Because he was the Blur.
But it was the thing is, that's the problem that happens a lot, is you have a nickname for someone that's not insulting, but it's just describing of their personality and you know, personage, right?
Yep.
But you don't use it, you don't call them that to their face. So it feels like you shouldn't, like because you haven't done that, it feels like you're insulting them. Plus, you know, there's certain kinds of nicknames that are phrased in such a way that you could call someone that. Like if someone's nickname is Stumps, you could be like, yo, Stumps.
Yep.
But you can't be like, yo, the Blur.
Yeah, definite articles just don't work.
Yeah, it doesn't work.
But anyway.
Like if it was Blurry, I could be like, hey, Blurry, what's going on?
That is not the news. The news is that it's really taken off for real because the owners of some of the teams are now known.
Right. So to become an owner, you have to buy a team license from Blizzard or whatever for millions of dollars.
Yep.
And then you now own a team. Congratulations.
So Jeff Wilpon, who owns the New York Mets, now owns the New York team, which means we will never win anything.
And we will buy season tickets anyway.
Well, what did you say? We're gonna be those two old dudes like 80 years from now.
Well, no, think about it. The Mets have only existed since 1962. There are people at least some, who have had season tickets to the New York Mets since 1962, and they were probably 30-something years old then, and now they're 80 years old.
I mean,
right?
I knew some people tangentially as a kid whose family had passed down like Red Wings season tickets forever.
Right. So now this every, sports are a thing that, they feel like they're so long, like they've always been there. It's like, no, the NBA is super new. The Super Bowl is about as new as the Mets. Right? It's not, it's like MLS is actually a big deal, and that's really new, right?
Well, I mean, so I tweeted the other day, I was looking at Magic, and like, the tiny percentage of Magic I have played compared to all the Magic that has happened in the many, 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 many years since I stopped playing.
You missed like 20 years of Magic.
Yeah.
And a few sets a year. Yeah, okay. Anyway, but the point is, we will buy season tickets to the New York Overwatch, whatever they are. We'll wear their fucking jerseys.
Yep.
We'll go to
I'll get
wherever.
a jersey.
Yeah.
I'm like 100%.
I don't even play the goddamn game, and I'm gonna go there and go, woo!
Oh, and the Boston team, or the Boston team, Robert Kraft, who owns the New England Patriots, bought that team.
Yeah. So 30 years from now, our kids will be like, "Whoa, we inherited the
season tickets.
The kids we won't have.
Yeah.
Are gonna inherit tickets to the
all our friends' kids.
season
will have
tickets
season
to
tickets.
this team with the great legacy, the New York whatever Overwatch players.
They won 4 Reinhardt Cups.
Yeah. The only thing is that I really want it to be a thing that lasts a long time, but I don't have confidence in any video game, even Counter-Strike, lasting as long as a game like baseball or hockey or, right?
Yeah, well,
so
that's
even
the
if
big debate.
So we're going to go see this Overwatch team and cheer for them and whatever, but then like 15 years from now, Overwatch will be dead. And
this is the big debate.
What's going to happen?
What is going to be the dominant model of esports in the future? Will it be a heterogeneous environment? Will there be leagues that are teams that are multi-sport or that evolve over time? Will there be leagues just based on individual games? Or will it be leagues based on genres like the fighting game league and they play like multiple fighting games together?
I wonder if, like, for example, Street Fighter is already on Street Fighter 5. Evo just happened.
Yeah.
Someone I didn't want to win one, but that's whatever. Can they keep Street Fighter going forever by making Street Fighter 6, Street Fighter 7, Street Fighter 8? Can they keep that going for literally eternity? Or as long as baseball existed?
Well, also, what's the line? I mean,
Can
hockey today is like hockey version 9.
They've had Street Fighter going since, the 80s, 90s,
Yeah.
right? So it's already been quite a while, but they got a long way to catch up to baseball levels. Can they keep it going? And if they can, where they just get, if they can do it with Street Fighter, which I guess is the one that's furthest along.
I think it is the furthest along.
Right. Then that means you can keep it going with Counter-Strike. You can keep it going with League of Legends. You can keep going with Overwatch by making Overwatch 2, Overwatch 3, Overwatch 4, CS GO, CS Stop, CS Run, CS Walk.
Yeah.
Whatever you got to make, right?
This is news. The other news I got is that apparently, this seems to be like a recent thing, it appears that the MLB may be in a trademark dispute with the Overwatch League about how similar their baseball man is to Tracer.
But the NBA Jerry West logo is more similar to the MLB logo. It uses the same fucking colors. Why would you? Are they just suing the Overwatch League because it's the same shape?
I think, I am not a lawyer, this is just my personal opinion, that this is a sign that traditional sports are afraid of esports.
I think that's just something that esports people want to tell themselves.
I feel like if esports were not on this like significant money tide that's coming in, MLB would have not even looked at this twice. Because I mean,
you definitely don't sue anyone who doesn't have any fucking money, right? Unless
Yeah.
you're a patent troll,
yeah.
right? You sue people who have money. So that means that Overwatch has enough money to be worth suing.
Well, Activision Blizzard.
Yeah,
so,
they have enough money to be worth suing.
I own a bunch of their stock.
Sure.
I actually bought a ton right after the announcement of this first came out. Because I noticed that the stock market didn't move at all. So I assume the stock market has no idea this is happening.
They don't give a shit.
I think there's money there. I might buy some more. I'll put it next to my Hasbro.
I got some stock, I guess.
You want to buy stock in GeekNights?
Oh, San Diego Comic-Con is this weekend.
All right, let's get right
Actually, it starts tomorrow is preview night.
No, preview night.
Where they inflate their attendance and get nerds who are super crazy and want limited merch to come in when like half the booths are closed and the artist alley isn't open yet.
I'll never go to that.
I'm not actually sure how open it is on preview night. Like, I don't think there's any panels or anything on preview night. I think it's just like floor open for some hours starting late. and adding 1/5 extra to the attendance figures.
All right, let's get to the
turnstile situation.
Things of the day. But anyway, things of the day. So we were just talking about the evolution of sports, right? This is an article. I'm not going to summarize it all. You should read it yourself. But it shows a lot of examples and talks in depth about how dramatically goalkeeping in hockey has changed just in recent years because of a few very specific and seemingly minor changes to the way goaltender equipment functions.
Yeah, people always talk about like, oh my God, goaltenders have these giant pads. They keep getting bigger, and that was true. But there have been there's some rules changes that have been making them smaller and such, right?
But the fact that they rotate around the leg,
the size matters much less than these other things that lay people do who just see, because a lay person looks at the giant pads and looks at the old small pads and is like, that ruined goaltending. That's why. But a layperson doesn't see this, but if you read this article and watch these videos, then you will see what lay people don't see, you layperson, you.
Yep, and it's very important because, like we said, Overwatch 2, Overwatch 3, or Street Fighter with the eSports leagues. Regular sports keep changing the rules. Hockey has so many versions, and this version of hockey today is more different than hockey of ye old time days than baseball. like all these sports change faster than video games do if you actually think about it. It's just people think of sports as being very continuous and think of the tradition as being very static, and unless you're a super fan, you don't notice all these actually really big changes that occur. So what do you got?
So everyone knows bowling is kind of lame.
Yeah, I took a bowling class and I got up to like 170, 180 average after 10 weeks, and I'm right back down to my 70, 80 average.
Anyway, bowling is the thing that people do in small town America because there's nothing better to do, and things you do at birthday parties or work parties because it's generic and appropriate for all ages and accessible even if you suck at it.
We used to go to the bowling alley near RIT a
couple times.
Because there was a DDR machine there.
That's right. We went to DDR, we didn't play.
They had like a Max 1 machine there, and all the other places had like 5th Mix. So,
but anyway, it's all. If you know anything about bowling, you'll know that like they wax the bowling lanes. Otherwise, the ball wouldn't really roll too well in just some bare wood, right? It's waxed up. And
because it's not just rolling, it's also sliding.
Yep. So the thing is, bowling lanes, based on the machine that waxes them, or if they're waxed by hand, which I don't think anyone does, they have a different pattern of wax. And that pattern of wax that is on the bowling alley significantly influences the ball movement, which to a normal person doesn't matter. But if you're a pro who's got to bowl a strike almost every time, or at least a spare, that small, way in which the wax moves the ball around is the difference between a spare and a 9, and that's enormous. It's the difference between a strike and a 9, right? Because the ball is just an inch to the right or an inch to the left because of that wax.
Well, think of it. If the wax were perfectly uniform, pretty much any competent bowler could do a 300 reliably.
If the wax was 100% the same on every bowling alley ever and was always perfect every time, all you had to do is practice this thing and practice it so much that you could perfectly repeat it every single time. Like line your foot up with the markers, stand at the exact same distance, do the exact same movement.
Just like the bowling in Breath of the Wild with the snow.
And it's like a human can achieve that if they put enough effort into it. It's called pitching in baseball, right? They throw the ball in almost the exact same spot at a ludicrous speed and they get there and they do it by practicing and doing it over and over again, right? So the fact that wax is different is what makes bowling at all challenging, which is actually kind of interesting because what sports do we have where not your equipment, not yourself, but the environment.
Hockey, the ice.
Right. The ice in hockey makes a difference. The field in baseball actually makes a significant difference.
Yup, especially that the fields are different too, like in different places. Like they're shaped differently in different
places. In football,
places.
you have grass and turf, and the crowd influences a little. And any spectator sport, the crowd influences, except for the annoying country club ones like bowling, golf, tennis, where you're supposed to be quiet, right? Tennis, you got the clay composite grass situation, right? But in bowling, I think it might matter like the most directly and obviously, right?
Well, partly because there's not much else that could matter.
Right.
There's not that much. Like, I'm not saying
the
bowling's
pins
easy.
The pins
like
don't
I said,
matter
I
in
average
bowling.
70 or 80. Like, I'm not a good bowler.
No, the pins do not matter in bowling is the point, right?
There's only so many factors that matter in bowling.
The ball, and the lane, and the wax in the lane, and that's it. So, we always knew that this is a thing, the wax. but I didn't actually know the details of the wax. How does it map? How is it apply? All this stuff. So here's a great video explaining everything that a normal non-bowling person needs to know about bowling wax. It's really interesting if you care about, even if you just care about games and sports, even if you don't care about bowling itself, it's still interesting.
Yeah.
It's worth your time to watch this.
So in the meta moment, the book club book is Frank Herbert's Dune.
I have finished reading this book.
As have I.
So tomorrow we're gonna
not tomorrow.
You're listening to this probably on Wednesday. Probably.
Yeah.
We're releasing this Tuesday night.
There's 9 people listening to it right now.
I guess most people will listen to this Wednesday, which means that Thursday we're gonna record an episode about Dune and announce the next book club. And
on that
you'll
episode,
probably listen to that on Friday.
Because it's a book club episode, we're gonna assume anyone who listens to it read the book.
Yep, that's
we're gonna talk about it.
And
like the book
I'm
club.
sure since this is one of the most famous nerd books ever,
you're gonna be real mad about our opinions.
And because we also have a board game that is related to this, and I haven't played the RTS, so I can't really say anything about that.
Yep.
Even though that was one of the first real RTS games ever. We're going to have a lot to say about this, so you should listen.
I think it tells the exact same story as Hyperion, but much more simply.
It's similar to Hyperion.
Yeah, well, very specific things are similar. And
how much of Hyperion was inspired from Dune?
I think significant. I think the core premise was inspired.
Maybe.
Of humanity's path and evolution, and also that thou shall not disfigure the soul.
Mm-hmm.
That is stuff that's heavily cribbed in Prince of Nothing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
But all I want to say is that a lot of you over the years who have given me flack for not having really read Dune have implied that this book is way more complex than it was.
Well, I think also just because something is some epic, ultra-famous nerd book, it gets like this huge reputation that it has to like uphold, right? And the reputation comes after you write it, not before. So it's like, who can you blame on this, right? It's just like, when so many nerds prop something up, you start to look at the nerds and not at the thing.
True. But just the characters were the opposite of inscrutable.
Oh, yeah.
What's the Baron Harkonnen want? He wants little boys to rape. And he's
a bad guy.
Yep.
He wants Monet and power.
Yep, he wants to keep his line going because of his own stupid reasons. He's also not actually that smart.
And he wants spies because everyone wants spies.
Yes.
He's hoarding it. And he's fat.
Yeah. That's the extent of the complexity of that character. And they're all
bad guy.
I think
Grim's favorite.
My favorite character. He's my favorite in the game. I think I want to always play the Harkonnen in the game. My favorite character is actually Keynes. Liet Keynes, the ecologist.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's my favorite character other than maybe Stilgar.
Stilgar is all right. My favorite guy.
Actually, I like Jessica a lot, too.
I thought your favorite guy would be Bard guy.
Oh, yeah. Gurney.
Yep.
Gurney's a super great dude.
Yep.
Gurney is like, he's a multi-class fighter bard.
Mm-hmm.
And he's pretty high level, too.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, we will talk about Dune in depth on the next show. And the other important meta thing, other than things we've already talked about, is that a big part of why I had the idea to do the show we're about to do, the topic, is that I have listened to a lot of the board game reviews that GeekNights has done over the years. Some of them from as far back as 2006, 2007.
Whoa.
And some of them more recently. And I noticed a lot about the way we review board games. And we've gone through like almost 5 sort of distinct eras of what we focus on and how we review the games.
Well, unlike some, journalistic outlets that actually care about reviewing with some sort of integrity or whatever.
Well, objectivity.
Pretending to have objectivity.
Yeah.
They tend to have a format or a process for reviewing, like a checklist of things your review has to do, right? And some of them even have scores and categories and shit. And we don't do any of that. We just talk about something for 20 to 30 minutes.
Yep.
And so our formats of, we might not forget to talk about an aspect of something or whatever, It just happens.
But the thing that was interesting is that, much like with anime and everything else, when we started GeekNights, we were fresh out of university, and we had consumed a lot of media, a lot of games, a lot of stuff in our entire lives up to that point. So we had a backlog of things we could review that we had immense experience with. So, like, when we started reviewing board games, like, we reviewed Puerto Rico on GeekNights. We had already played it more than 100 times. When we reviewed Carcassonne or Settlers, we had played them to the point that we had solved them. So all those early
That's
Geek
true,
Nights,
is that we were reviewing a game, right? We were basically, the first episode of Geek Nights was in 2005.
Yep.
It had at least 5 years of material to work with. Now, even if we take a break for a vacation, it's like, okay, great. We've got an extra 2 weeks of material to work with of things we haven't talked about yet. Once we drained that 5-year pool of material, right? It's like now it's just a trickle.
But the trouble was that when we gave reviews that were good, like in my opinion, having listened to a bunch of them, because we've done some pretty mediocre reviews occasionally.
Yeah, in 1,000-something episodes, most of them are crap. In fact, by all of them are crap. Some are slightly less crap, but they all crap.
But our best reviews were when we'd played a game so much that we had a deep, intuitive understanding of all the mechanics of the game.
Yep.
So I noticed that our reviews did follow a pretty specific format. We talk about the premise, then we talk about the rules themselves and whether or not they were well written or consistent, the learning experience, the initial play experience, and then we talk about the end game. Like, how long will it take to get to the end game? What is the end game? Is there an end game? When will the game be done? And that arc.
What's the most you can get out of this game?
Yep. And
if you really invest your soul into it.
And the games that we liked the most and continue to still like
were the games that we invested our souls into.
We're not just that. We're the games that after 20 or more plays, we had still not plumbed the depths. And the rules to those games were relatively elegant or simple.
Or airtight.
Yeah. Games that were complex or we hadn't solved, that were only not solved because there are a billion different kinds of cards, we lost interest in pretty quick. But games like Hansa Teutonica is a good example of a much more recent game that had all those aspects that we liked so much in the games that we lauded in the 15 years of doing Geek Nights.
Well, Hansa Teutonica isn't really a new game. It was just new to us.
Well, I mean, it's
at the time,
Hansa Teutonica,
which was already like 3 years ago, maybe 4.
Is the most recent game we've reviewed where I can say confidently that we have reviewed it.
We just reviewed Race of the Galaxy, a game we've played a ton.
Oh, yeah. It's the most recent game that was published that we have reviewed fully, in my opinion.
Right.
Like, with that level of deepness. After that,
I think the other thing is a lot of the games we review, games we've played more recently. Like we did one Potion Explosion, right?
Well, that's the other thing.
It's like we played that game a few times, but there's nothing more to get out of it. So we did, like, even though our review might not have been the greatest review you could do,
I think it was thorough.
There was not, like, what else could we possibly say? There's no reason to play that game any more than we have.
So I want to say our reviews, so the first reviews we were doing,
you can do a better review of a better game because you can play a better game more, and a better game usually has more to say about it.
But it shows how we evolved in terms of understanding games, because for years we only reviewed games that we had played ad nauseum, or games that we played once and hated. And usually we'd say, yeah, we played this once, we hate it. Like we did that to Innovation. We were like,
Yeah. I'm sure, I'm sure, even though I don't like Innovation, I don't want to play it, I'm sure if we played it a bunch more, begrudgingly, that we could find a lot more to say about it and do a better review of it.
Identically to Twilight Struggle. They're in the same class.
If we played a bunch of Twilight Struggle, we could definitely do a much better review of it. But
at the same time, I
have no desire to do so.
Still served its purpose, because even games we don't like, we tend to do a good job of describing who the game would be for. Like, if you like this, you'll like this game. If you're
it's
like
not
us,
for us.
Yep. But then we entered this era where we were doing Geek Nights like much more fervently, but we tapped that queue. Like, so we started buying new games to play them to review. And what I noticed there
I didn't do that. I was buying games to play them.
Yeah, but we also like would make a point of like reviewing them as we played them to figure them out so that we'd be capable of doing review. But back then we still had a lot of free time, so we could sort of do that. So we'd play the games like at least 10 times before we'd review them, but we wouldn't play them 100 times.
No.
There was the era after that is where we got really the most interesting, because we finally learned enough about games. And we started doing this around like 2009, I want to say.
Okay.
Where we seem to read the rules of a game, play it half-assedly once, pretty much be 90% sure of our review, and maybe play it one more time just to make sure we're not wrong. And we were incapable of doing that for a long time. And I think we just learned a lot about games. And once you play enough games, like Potion Explosion, you can see what's going on in that game real quick. We could literally not say more about the game by playing it more. But had we reviewed Potion Explosion, say, back in 2006, I think we would have had to play it like 10 more times to realize the things we realized about it.
Maybe.
Yeah. And nowadays, we just struggle to get together a group of people outside of conventions who are willing to play super serious games super seriously repeatedly.
And the thing is, our problem isn't that we lack friends; it's that everyone is actually doing other things in life for reals.
We're like we're shockingly busy.
Well, it's just like I'd rather go biking than go and play a board game.
Yep. Well, partly because it's summer.
Yes.
We got some plans though. There's some tentative plans of doing a writers retreat at some point, where a small group of dangerous people are gonna get together and play like 15 games and review the fuck out of them.
Without stopping, play tons of games.
That'll be ReviewCon.
Yeah, game publishers, usually I don't ask for free review copies of games, and especially when people have called us, mostly with books. They want us to talk to the authors on GeekNights and stuff.
Yeah.
And I always turn them the fuck down. I don't say no, but what I'm like is like, look, you can send us all the free shit you want. There is no guarantee that we'll review it. There's no guarantee we'll review it positively. If we do review it, I promise you basically nothing, but feel free to send me free stuff if you want to. And that basically is the same thing as, no, don't send me free stuff, right?
Well, actually, the publisher offered to send us Pendante too because we didn't actually own it.
Sure, but
I didn't take it. But
you are a board game publisher, we are if we do this legit, right? Don't send it to us until we say we're doing this. But if we do this legit, then I promise you that if you send us a game, and we will play it there at least sometimes, and we will review it 100% honestly if you're ready to deal with that.
Like to the level that we offer to people to pay us money to do.
And we will even send you the game fucking back because I don't want to keep it in my house.
Yeah.
If we don't like it. Hey, you know what? If I do like the game and I want to keep it, I'll even give you the money to buy the game from you.
Yeah.
Right? If I would have bought it otherwise. Right? But, you know, I'm not gonna buy before I try, is what I'm saying, for another board game in my very small apartment. So anyone out there, that's what I'm saying.
So nowadays, with our current knowledge of games, and like we've done this a few times. We've put some reviews up on GeekNights where we literally just read the rules, and that was all we did.
And sometimes it's all you need.
Yeah. So
some people get real mad about that, right? There was a thread on the Board Games Reddit actually recently that was like so mad at like reviewers like not playing the game enough and stuff like that. And it's like, look, you know, on the one hand, it's true. You shouldn't judge a book by its cover. This is why we do the judge anime by its cover panel, right? And we say this at that panel.
But the rule book is the whole book.
That's listen, you judging anything by its cover. It's true. You shouldn't judge things by their cover because you will not always be right. You will often be, oh, this looks like crap. And then if you actually had played it, you would have realized, oh, no, it was great. You look at some food. That food looks ugly. Oh, my God, it tastes delicious. What's that green slime? It's guac. You just judged it by how it looked. What's wrong with you, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, the fact is, if you judge things by their cover, you will be right like 90+% of the time. Romance novels look like romance novels. Trashy sci-fi books look like trashy sci-fi books, right? Pulp fantasy novels look like pulp fantasy novels almost all the time. You can judge things by how they look almost all the time. So if you judge something based on one playthrough or a reading of the rules and it's a game, and depending on how much your understanding of games is, and we're going to just, be... I guess arrogant and say we have an amazing understanding of games. We're great.
Yeah.
F you. We are skilled, talented, and knowledgeable enough to judge things in areas where we are experts with less experience with those
things.
Case
in point, I looked, we reviewed Eccentric Family on Judge Anime by its cover. You know what we said? Exactly. We were 100% correct.
All right.
The show was exactly what we said it would be.
Terrific.
So today, when we review games, we definitely review games from the perspective of people like us.
Well, that's how everyone reviews things. They review it from the perspective of people like them.
Yep, but a lot of people try to pretend they don't, which is kind of BS.
I will sometimes remember to say things like, if you're this kind of person, though, you might like this. Like, there's a lot of games I know that are like all theme and no substance, and I'd be like, look, if you really love this fucking theme, you'll probably love this shit, but I don't. Like, if you're I'll be like, oh, if you're a grognard, you'll love this Twilight Struggle, but I don't.
But I've also noticed that the specific factors we look for in a tabletop game are actually pretty simple. Are the rules well written? Are they
unambiguous?
Like, that is number one.
Do I need to go to Board Game Geek for a fact?
But if the rules to a game are ambiguous, like, usually we don't even review it. We just, like, cut it out of our brains and never look at it again.
Yeah, like this unplayable garbage. It
like, I've picked up
That's
games.
like trying to play a game on Steam and it crashes. It's like, nope.
I've literally picked up games at PAX. Like, I'll grab random games sometimes to start reading the rules to see if we'll play it at the table, like between things. And I put them back when I couldn't resolve a rule question on my own reading. Number two is there's two sort of kinds of games when you look at German style, like Euro tabletop games, because that's mostly what we review. Are they primarily optimization or machine driven, or are they primarily exploratory? Meaning, are there dense mechanics that you're expected to explore and play repeatedly to understand? Or are there mechanics that you can logically figure out and build complex machines in your head with?
Like Tigers and Euphrates is exploratory, right? You have a few pieces to work with, placing tiles, catastrophes, monuments, right? And you have to explore different ways to use those pieces as you play it multiple times, right? And that's how the game works. But if you look at a game like, say, Puerto Rico, it's like, well, there's nothing to explore. You can see all the buildings right there. You just have to figure out, or Agricola, or any of these types of games, right? It's like, all right, here's all the pieces. They're spelled out in English. How to build an optimal machine given the fact that you're competing for machine parts with other people and such and such and such and all these cards and stuff, you know, and then when do you start cranking that machine to spin out victory points, and how hard can you crank it?
If a game is exploratory, we expect it to be elegant, meaning the fewest number of rules to achieve the most complexity with those rules. So if a game is super complex, but it has a billion unique cards to make it complex, F that noise.
That's inelegant complexity. That's like a lot of PC games.
Oh my God, I wish I could quote it. There was a talk at PAX Dev last year, actually, on this topic that was super great.
Like, if you look at a lot of 5X games or 4X games on the PC, or like, you know, Europa Universalis is the greatest example, right?
That is a deep and complex game.
Sure, but it's like, it's just tons and tons of numbers and graphs and so much shit. It's like, you cannot put all of that information into a human brain unless you're, you know, specially powered, right? Much more smarter than I am.
But I think
so much smarter that you won't say stupid things like more smarter.
But on any sort of game that has that sort of exploratory bent to it, if the mechanics are too complicated in light of how complicated the actual strategies are, that is our main criteria, I think. Like, above all others. And I think secondary to that is the fun economy. Because even if the game is dumb and broken and everything, if it's short and we had a moderate amount of fun in that very short time, we'll also rate it very highly, even if it fails all these other categories.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of games like that, because especially, you know, just the social situations that we're in. You know, you get a game like, say, Red 7, like, not a masterpiece by any means, but it's like, but it's fun enough for 5 minutes that it takes to play, and it's like, I can't play it again. I could play the Red 7 right the fuck now.
So like, a game that has reasonable, like, a game that has high depth, low complexity to achieve that depth, short time span to play, but a good experience in that time. That's like the perfectly designed game from our like basic rubric.
Right. It's all about, you know, how much you have to invest to play the game versus what you get out of it, right? So if you only have to invest a little bit, you don't need to get that much out for it to be good and worth your time. If you have to even invest to get, you know, not so much, you know, that's not so great. So I think what happens, I think there are a lot of games out there where you still have a positive experience playing them, right? So if you invest like an hour of time and a bunch of work studying rules and you get fun out of it, it's like positive experience. It's a good time. And I think other people will be like, wow, this is a really good time. And they'll rate it really highly, where I'll be like, no, it wasn't worth the trouble. Even though it's good, right? We'll rate that game badly, whereas other people won't.
Yep. We also, if a game is reactive or not, meaning if there's multiple players, how interactive is the game and how much do you have to react to what other players are doing? Like, how much do other players affect the state of the game?
Yeah, we're definitely, you know, that's just our personal taste, I think, is we don't tend to like games that are straight races as much.
Yep.
Right? Like,
they're good filler games. Like, I actually liked that America game where we were just like writing numbers.
That's not a race. You're competing for the spots in turn order.
No, not the trivia game. The one with like you write the numbers on the map.
Oh yeah, that's just a race.
That's just a solitaire race.
Oh yeah, we didn't talk about that game on the show. I don't.
Oh
think.
no, we didn't. I
But
don't think we did.
But yeah,
It's
a
a good game.
race, you're not supposed to touch the other racers when you're doing a 100-meter dash, right?
Yep.
There's a lot of board games and other video games, competitive games in general, that are just races where it's like everyone's playing solitaire, and at the end, who does the best solitaire, right?
That has a time and place. Like if you want a game that holds a large number of players, that is the optimal way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a time and a place for that.
Candyland is that.
Yep.
Everyone's playing Candyland at the same time, and whoever gets to the end first wins.
So if a game
is literally a race.
If a game is a race, we sort of review it from the perspective of is the puzzle I am working on myself fun?
Mm-hmm.
And is the socialization that occurs around that mechanic fun?
And also, how many times is solving the puzzle going to be fun, right? It's like,
Yep.
or if I've played it once, is that all I need? I don't need to play it again because I've already figured out.
Rolling America, that's the name of that one.
I've already figured.
Chris and Pat both simultaneously were like, Rolling America.
Right. It's like, have I already figured out the fastest way to run this race? Well, then I never need to run it again. But if a game is interaction with other people, right?
Hans and Teutonica and Tigris and Euphrates are good examples there
Right.
in that.
Pretty much most games, most multiplayer games.
But if it's highly interactive, I've noticed we heavily dislike games that are also highly political.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
well, every game is technically political.
Well, it is,
but
but
you can based on the rules, the influence of the politics can be higher or lower.
well, like Hans and Teutonica and Puerto Rico are both good examples of games that are like the actions you're going to take are deeply dependent upon the game state created by the decisions everyone else is making.
But Hansa is highly political, right? It's like I can choose to attack Rim by messing with him, but
I think it's
you
actually way
can't-
less political.
But you can't. It's
highly interactive.
There's a limit to your power and how much you can mess. You need to gang up on someone to ruin them, and you can't really afford to gang up on someone and sacrifice your own biz. Whereas something like, I'm not going to say diplomacy, something else like the Scythe game, which is basically diplomacy,
Yeah.
right?
Well, that's
it's basically 100% political. It's really the vote who wins.
well, that's what
game.
you said. We like games that are highly interactive, but have minimal political interaction.
There's still political interaction, but your ability to the influence of the political interaction on the victory condition is lesser, right, than it could be because the rules are restrictive.
Yeah, so the more the politics turns into risk, the less we're interested in it.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of the machine games, like, the straight up crank the machine, like Tzolk'in, like that kind of game where you literally crank the machine.
Tzolk'in, you literally crank it, yeah.
I do like Tzolk'in.
I only played it half a time.
I've played it 3 times now, and I actually like it more.
Yeah, it's definitely something.
We should play it at South.
I feel it.
Let's play it. I don't want to buy it, but I'm sure it'll be there.
I definitely don't have room to keep it.
No. But,
I like Crystal Skulls, though.
Or Kalis, any kind of game where there's sort of a machine of any kind that you can make. I've noticed we tend to prefer the games where there are multiple paths to victory and some nuance to how you optimize between them. Because I've noticed a lot of the games we don't like that we never reviewed on GeekNights because we play them once at a PAX and we're just not excited about them, tend to be machine games. A lot of them have train themes, I've noticed, where there are like 3 ways to go and they're basically all mutually exclusive.
Yeah,
Go after the gold points or the potion points or the hat points. But if you do 1 hat and 3 potions, there's literally no way you can win.
Yeah, it's like we've built 3 efficient. There's a bunch of pieces here to build machines with, right? And there's basically 3 machines. If you try to build any one of the 3 machines, they're all pretty much equally efficient. But if you try to build a combination of more than 1 machine, the efficiency is gone and you're not going to get enough points if someone else just concentrates on 1 machine. That's the first problem. Another problem is some games, they have multiple machines or ways to build the machine, but one of them is vastly more efficient than the others, and usually there's not enough parts to go around, so one person gets the efficient machine and everyone else gets a subpar machine, and they're already the winner as soon as they get that one. I made the first baby in Agricola. Well, you're not guaranteed to win, but that's like you're far along. You're much further along than the other players.
Yep.
A good machine building game has many different and interesting ways to build a machine in different combinations that can all work. And also, they offer ways, for example, maybe I realize in some games, like maybe in Race to the Galaxy.
I think that's where I was going.
In Race to the Galaxy, maybe I realize, Rim's got an efficient machine going. My machine is much less efficient.
But now you know what Rim's going to do every time.
Because my machine is less efficient, maybe I can crank it harder, starting earlier, and get as many victory points at the moment the game ends. So I'll just start going consume, 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 because I can't do what he's doing, right? And there's another way to go.
You see that I'm doing a strategy where I'll be producing semi-regularly, so you can assume that that'll happen, never produce, and build around using the fruits of production.
Yep. It's like you find some other way. There's always some other way to win, and the game. We don't like games that It's this thing I think I've complained about in a lot of reviews. Like this game ends before it ends.
Yep.
As a lot of games have that problem. It's super common.
Look at when we play Puerto Rico or Tigris and Euphrates or Hansa. The game is up in the air until like the second to last turn.
Pretty close to the end. Yeah.
Yeah, Hansa in particular ends up often being shockingly close.
Yeah, it's where
And even though Hansa has problems, it's not my favorite game. I use it as an example because it is shockingly elegant in what it has accomplished in terms of barely political player interaction. Especially among skilled players, because there is a cost to playing highly if you play that game politically, you tear yourself down deeply.
And usually the way to accomplish this when you make a game is it goes hand in hand with another thing I complain about, which is games often have like big pieces. Like in Puerto Rico, you have big buildings.
Steam Park has physically big pieces for no good reason.
Right.
And it has things you'll never build.
But it's like, there's always like the big guy. Like in Magic the Gathering, you have like the big creature, right?
The legend that takes black and green and blue.
There'll be something, just something big, right? And usually a good game, you can play the big thing close to the end and use it a few times, and then the game ends. And that is a good thing because it means you can actually be behind most of the game and invest in building the big thing as an alternative to just playing efficiently throughout the game. And that big thing will come out and actually do some work before the game ends, thus allowing you to possibly catch up to the people who were playing the smaller or other medium-sized strategies, right?
Yep.
Whereas a lot of games I've noticed, you can't even play the big thing unless it's a miracle. And even if you do play the big thing, like that will be the last turn of the game, and you'll maybe use it once if you're lucky. And that's,
What was it? Oh my goods.
They might as well not have put that thing in the game.
Oh my goods. Doesn't that have the rule where at the end of the game, you crank your machine twice?
Yeah, oh my goods. It's like at the very end of the game, everyone gets to crank their machine one extra time. So it really gives you that incentive. It's like, oh, you can build something really big at the end of the game.
Oh, look, I made a bunch of windows with my class.
Yeah, and actually use them and not just have the game end on you.
Yep. Because I remember Kalis.
So that's the thing that we really like.
Well, Kalis, arguably the first worker placement game, which we were obsessed with because back when it came out.
It's not the first worker placement game.
Arguably it is.
Really? I don't know.
Name the worker placement game before.
There had to be.
Name one.
There had to be. That can't be the first worker placement game. There's no way.
What was the first worker placement game? Kalis.
Really?
Maybe there's an old game called Bus that might have predated it.
Really?
But Bus is from 1999.
Kalis, really the first?
We've talked about this before.
Whoa.
Valley of the Mammoths. That's the one I forgot about. That someone said.
I never even heard of that.
That's from 91.
I never even seen that in my life.
I don't know if I've seen this game or not.
I've never seen that.
I think my brain is conflating what I'm seeing in these pictures with Tempest, even though they're not.
But my brain wants to play it.
Yeah.
It definitely looks like
Tempest. I kind
of
want to play that. Actually, I want to play Tempest again, too. It's been a while.
I want to play Tempest and Vinci.
Yeah. But, so that game had the problem where there are a bunch of big things that you'd pretty much never be able to build. You're not going to get that much stone ever.
Mm-hmm.
So
unless you get the miracle play.
Oh, yeah. So otherwise, I think the main thing that we review pretty heavily is you sort of get a sense of, one, whether or not they actually play-tested their fucking game, and two, whether or not they play-tested it with a wide audience. Because a lot of new tabletop games, partly because the industry's sort of been democratized, and a lot of people, the barrier to entry to tabletop's pretty low these days.
There was a thread on Board Game Geek Reddit about that. Some guy was like, with no evidence whatsoever, by the way, was claiming that, listen, you guys keep complaining about Kickstarter exclusive shit, but you have to include exclusive shit on your Kickstarter or people won't buy your Kickstarter. They'll just wait for the regular edition because it's the same damn thing. And it's like, you don't have any evidence of that. Show me the sales figures.
Yeah.
Right? But in that thread, the thing that's relevant is so many people in that thread, so much of the people in the board game hobby, in the community, are really, really interested in like fancy pieces and wooden shit and the construction of the games and extra minis.
We basically don't care about that at all.
And we give give me the.
You know what I do? You know what I say about that? Usually, if the pieces are particularly amazing, we'll say the game's really well constructed. We'll leave it at that.
But like, I give no shits about that whatsoever. Give me the cardboard shits. Give me the the plain old dice. I don't give a. I care about.
You know what I'll complain about? I rarely like paper money because it's a pain in the ass.
Sure, right. And we do talk about construction a little bit. But
only if it
other
harms
board
the
game
game?
reviewers talk about construction a lot.
Well, it's like all those anime reviews that talk about.
It's a major factor for them, and a lot of people buy and enjoy board games based on the construction, and we give almost that factors into our review like almost not at all. So like, there's a lot of shitty games out there, Scythe, that are really ridiculously undeservingly popular because of their construction getting them a huge amount of sales.
Yep. Well, it's like all those anime reviewers
because they
talk about the liner notes and the quality of the
right. I
screenshots.
also think what happens is that a game with quality construction gets big sales from that part of the community. And because now the game is popular and everywhere, it spills over into
Look at all the
actually
people who bought
trying to play it.
that terrible Ghostbusters game. Because it's a terrible
I don't think
game.
that many people bought it.
So a lot of people bought it, like a lot.
How many?
But, well, they all bought it on the Kickstarter.
Sure. No one bought it after that.
To this day, I've never seen someone play it at a con. Ever.
No, because there's not that many people bought it.
But they bought it for the pieces.
Sure.
Which aren't even that paintable, as far as I can tell.
We give no shits about pieces.
Yeah, so basically it'll be a negative if the pieces hinder the gameplay in some way.
Oh, yeah.
We'll actually talk a lot more about graphic design than the physical construction because a lot of games have graphic design that is very poor.
Sentinels and Multiverse, your art is the worst. I don't know why people.
Worst.
Why can't? I mean, it's not literally the worst.
But it's not great.
It's awful. Why can't people just admit it and come out with it? I'm like the only one who notices. Like, I feel like I'm like it's one of those situations where like it's like a they live.
Yeah.
Where I'm like people think this art is good. It's like. I'm
not going to say art.
Rarely say
design overall.
I know that I can't draw for shit, but like, if I practiced drawing for like a month, I could do better than
Sentinels. I guess what bothers me about Sentinels is that the graphic design of the UX, like the way the cards are actually laid out, just is not.
It's not a good game.
Great, and
it's not good.
The character art, it's not. It's not so much that it's bad. It's that it's way it goes off model. Like anytime I see it, everyone looks like they're drawn differently.
Listen, Rob Liefeld draws better than whoever draws Sentinels and Multiverse. I'm not saying art at Sentinels.
But no, I'm talking about the graphic design of what was that game we played where you have the nobles, like the Vienna Hotel or something?
That was okay.
Yeah, but the design of the cards made it often
Grand
very
Austrian
hard
Hotel
to read.
I didn't have a problem with that.
What they were supposed to do.
I have a problem with Old Glory to Rome, old printing.
Well, so Old Glory to Rome physically hurts my brain to look at.
That's what I'm saying.
But a lot of games just have poorly done, subtle parts of their graphic design, like the sewer card in the New Glory to Rome.
Yeah, but that doesn't. That just hurts your eye, but it doesn't make it impossible to play in any way.
Yeah, but then there's also a lot of games that poorly distinguish aspects of the board that are interactive or relevant to the game.
Is that country bordering that country? How many games do you have to ask that question?
Yep. Why did you use a cursive script to describe the names of those people that I need to look up constantly in this game?
Mm-hmm.
So that's a problem. But otherwise,
why did you use that font that's not legible?
Yep. Where'd you even get that font? You went out of your way to find the worst possible
Is
font.
that a 1 or a 7?
And what else do we care about? Because that's pretty much it. The playtesting thing's probably, in the end, one of the most critical ones because you can sort of tell right away if a game wasn't playtested that thoroughly.
Well, you can definitely tell right away when the game says right on the front, we didn't playtest this at all.
But because that game was honest, it was good.
We should make a game. I wonder if we can get sued if we made a game that saying we play tested this way too goddamn much. We play tested the fuck out of this game, and that's the name of the game. Is we play tested the fuck out of this.
But they make the game so utterly simple that's why it's perfect because there's barely a game there.
No, it's GOPS.
Yeah, it's just GOPS.
The fuck out of
we just published GOPS as that.
Place tested the fuck out of this.
And it's just white cards with the numbers printed on them.
Yes.
Really, that would be a really nice font, though.
We could make them like the best goddamn cards, right? We'd have the red deck and the blue deck for the two players, and then the gold deck would be the points that you bid on.
Yup. They'd be nice and thick
and
with gold leaves.
And to make it nice and even, instead of going to 13, we'll go to 15.
I don't know. We'd have to playtest that.
Yeah, we'd playtest the fuck out of it.
So yeah, that's how we review games. And that's why that idea of having our own private review con really tickles my fancy, because that could push our GeekNights reviews into yet a new era of reviewing.
I mean, it would get us episodes for at least half a year.
Oh, yeah. Plus, obviously, you know what we'd do is we'd also just record the audio of the entire time we're playing the game.
Live stream the entire time we're playing the game.
That could be fun.
Yeah.
So we'll see. That might be the other con that we run, the tiny one. That's just us. Anyway, that's it.
It's not a con.
It could be a con.
No.
It's our writer's retreat. How's that?
I'm hungry.
It'll be the writer's retreat. All right, I think we're done. Oh, we had a bunch of people watching. Like 11 or 12, give or take.
Hearthstone guy I watch.
Yeah.
He turns on his stream. 6,000 people, and as he streams, it goes up to 11,000.
Yeah, I don't think we're the kind of audience. We're not going to draw that.
He doesn't have to, that's his job. He does that every day for hours.
I don't think I could do that.
11,000 people. He's just chilling in Finland.
Yeah. All right. I'll do this thing.
When the number's up to 11,000,
Nah.
you let me know. Even 6,000 is enough.
And the Patreon patrons for this episode of Geek Nights are Ellen Joyce, Heidi McNichol, Amanda Duchette, and Thomas Hahn. MyStady.com, William Eisenrose, Jeremy Miner, Life and Death and Love and Birth and Peace and War on the Planet Earth. A genuine bona fide electrified 6-car monorail. Nicholas Brandow, Captain Chinguakasi, Rebecca Dunn, The Terrible Secret of Space, 421 Creations, That's Because They're Fighting Each Other, Shervin Von Horrell, Rare Laval, James David White, Rochelle Montanona, Superboy, paid $5 to make room, say Pickle, Sailor Vista, Matthew Smith, Don, Schleich, Kachar, Tavish, and Joshua Joestar, Sean Yeager, Sam Cordery, Clinton Walton, Ren from New Zealand, Ryan Perrin, Drew Oppenlander, Brian Cedrone, Finn, Chris Midkiff, Chris Knox, Daniel Redmond, Sean Klein, Chris Reimer, and Thomas Hahn. And a bunch of other people, actually a lot of people who do not want to get credited. So like I said, so a bunch of Rimley reviews are coming down the pipe, a bunch of talk about heuristics in the Rims Rants. I got a whole ton of board game videos that I'm going to upload. And stuff's coming now that we're done with Kineticon. So stay tuned for GGX, which we're working on actively. And there's a tiny chance there'll be a pre-beta event in 2018. And then the real event will start in 2019. But anyway, now I leave you with